Hello there, it's Marlena discussing the topic of emotional safety. I used to have the experience of being in a relationship and just feeling very awkward and uncomfortable, not knowing what to say, thinking about what I was going to say, not expressing how I felt or what I needed or if I was unhappy with anything. And I could never quite figure out why that was. So sometimes it was obvious if I was with someone who was quite critical or judgmental. I thought, okay, that makes sense. I don't want to be judged, I don't want to be criticized, so I keep it in. I keep my feelings, my thoughts, my opinions, my beliefs, my needs to myself. But at one point I thought there must be something more to this because it doesn't happen with everyone and I don't want to just blame my partner. So what is it that is missing? And my research led me to the topic of emotional safety, which describes the state of feeling comfortable, relaxed, at ease with someone else. That is because they are emotionally safe and we feel emotionally safe. We kind of create emotional safety in the absence of criticism, judgment, harshness, that kind of thing. So what healthy relationships require is emotional safety, and it is something we can cultivate and co-create in our relationships. How do we do that? We step away from judgments, from unfavorable comparisons, from criticism, all those kinds of things. Of course, sometimes in any kind of relationship there will be arguments, there will be conflict, we might say the wrong thing, but emotional safety is a vital component to repairing relationship ruptures. So it is not something that you have once, and once it's gone, it's gone. It's something that you can nurture back, you develop, you strengthen it. And we do that by being open and honest, by being vulnerable, but also at the same time being very respectful and considerate towards our partners' insecurities, vulnerabilities, themselves as a whole person. Now, without emotional safety, you will have a very hard time feeling comfortable in your relationship. So you will feel like you're on edge. You can't really relax because any minute you might get, that sense of being attacked. And that's not a nice way to feel, and it is also a connection block, a love block. When we're in our threat system, we can't feel love, we can't feel relaxed, we cannot create connection because we just don't feel that it's safe enough to do so. The most important thing, however, I discovered was when I started to do turnarounds, which is kind of what I'm focusing the whole program around. Turnarounds is just when you use a concept and you kind of turn it towards yourself. So I could see that there was a lack of emotional safety within my external relationships. Once I discovered that I also have a relationship with myself, I could see that the relationship I had with myself was also not emotionally safe. And for that reason, I accepted relationships on the outside that weren't emotionally safe because it matched the picture I had in my mind of the relationship I deserved. So if I'm critical towards myself, it's very easy for me to accept other people being critical towards me because it matches, right? So my brain doesn't detect any kind of threat because that's the norm. Okay, so if I wasn't self-critical but someone else was, the sense of threat would alert me to taking action because it doesn't match, right? So the behaviors don't match, there's an incongruence, and as humans we don't like that. When I looked at the relationship I had with myself, I discovered that I criticized myself, I put myself down, I was overly harsh, I didn't allow myself to take any risks because I told myself that I'd fail anyway. So it was very, very negative, very judgmental, very critical, and then most of all, I guess, it was very punitive because if anything ever went differently to how I expected that it should go, I would blame myself. Okay, so self-blame is like it eradicates any kind of emotional safety straight away, because instead of taking responsibility, learning from perceived mistakes, because you can just call them like opportunities for growth. You don't have to think that it's a mistake. You can think it's just another stepping stone of your path towards learning something new. I would beat myself up. I would make it personal. I would make it mean something negative about myself. So at one point, I didn't allow myself to want anything. I wasn't aware of how I was feeling. I didn't have any desires. I didn't have any goals, because what was the point, right? I was beating myself up anyway. And I guess to avoid that, I stopped engaging in life. So that's what happens when there is no emotional safety within the relationship you have with yourself. And of course, mine was also exacerbated by the lack of emotional safety in my external relationships. But what makes a massive change, and what will help you to feel better about yourself, to become more loving towards yourself, to naturally engage in self-care, and then by extension to have healthier relationships, to improve existing ones or create new healthy ones, is focusing on emotional safety. So there are a few components that I have summarized and created a workbook for, that you can go through, and you can explore, apply it to yourself, complete some exercises, because it will help you raise your awareness of the state of your relationship you have with yourself, and then you can make changes. The mindset reset routine will help you with that. So if you go into the membership area and you have a look at both the new section, which is all about emotional safety, and the mindset reset program, you'll see that that merges very well together, that you can apply what you're learning about emotional safety, the relationship you have with yourself. You apply it to the questions that are asked. You can develop gratitude for every time you change your behavior towards yourself with a more loving one. And so it's kind of part of the process that we look at a topic, we apply it to relationships, but then also the relationship we have with ourselves, and then do the work within the membership area to make it a habit, to make it stick. So we're not going to whiz through lots of different topics, even though the temptation is there. Not just for you, definitely for me. It's learning to focus, so we can have the focus on the topic, the focus on ourselves, and to make change happen. So that's what's really important. And sometimes that takes a little bit more time, but I'm going to give you lots of different types of content on this topic, focused on this topic, so that it doesn't get boring or anything. There's lots to explore on this. It's not just external relationships. I think the internal relationship is the most impactful, and it will have the widest scope for change also on the outside. It's almost like it ripples outward. So I hope that you find this interesting. I definitely think that it is a very important topic, that when I work with it with my clients, I see a lot of change, because it's not something that we're aware of. So have a look at the membership area, the resources section, and complete some exercises, share what it brings up for you, and let's have a chat about it. So connect in the community, do the work in the membership area, and I look forward to hearing what you've got to say about that. Take care.